Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for today's training seminar on Reporting 101. Reports so easy, your grandma could do them. And the point of today's seminar and webinar is to actually go through the ways in which you can leverage your results software product to do reporting. So again, thank you very much for joining us. There's quite a few of you, on the call today, so very excited to have you on with us during this webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by getting us into the results desktop. And as you saw from the agenda that was sent with the invitation, we're going to basically cover 5 bullet points. The first one is going to be dealing with the reporting or leveraging reporting based on the DMC's technology within results. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and log in. Everything in results, as you know from working with it, is the ability to work from the data management centers. We call them DMC for short. So in a case like this, I'm able to click on contacts and ask to manage the contacts data. And in this case, I am able to work within the grid or within the spreadsheet-like performance of the data management center. As you know, you're able to come in and let's say you want to focus on prospects. You're able to start typing within a certain column, and then the prospect list will be available to you. So that's a quick way for you to see the information that you need. Within the DMC itself, and each of those DMCs can be reconfigured per person without affecting any other users within the company. So if something that you need to see on a regular basis on the contacts DMC, the data management center itself, is an email address because that's important for your business, you can actually scroll to the right side, whatever that placement of the current placement of that field is, and move it to a location that's convenient for you to see without scrolling, for example. And let's say we decide to place that here. Until you change it and move it somewhere else, from this point forward, anytime that I go into the contacts and manage contacts, the email address location will be placed within that area for the quickest way for me to get to that data. One other thing from a reporting aspect is that you're able to not only search by columns, so for example, you're looking for clients, but you're also now wanting to see those within a certain state. So you can scroll over to the state column and let's say you're focusing on the state of Virginia. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And now these are the records that satisfy that condition. So that's one way of approaching the data. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that filter by clicking on the refresh, or you can always click on this button up here on the far left-hand side to cancel the criteria that you're looking at. Please remember, as you work with the different data management centers, you're not only searching by the top of the column to end up with the digital results of that search, but also you're able to see the pop-out for standard search. These are the most commonly used fields. So if I wanted to get the same effect of what I just did, I can go to the client type and type CL as the first 2 letters, so it will match anything starting with CL, and I can go to the state and type VA. And I want to click apply. I'm going to end up with the same resulting number of records to report on, but at this point, I was able to do the search in a totally different way. I'm going to go ahead and do a reset on that and click apply, which basically removes the filter criteria from the results of the DMC. I'm going to show you one more way in which you can control the filtering of information for the data management centers. You're able to go to what we call the advanced search. In the advanced search, you're able to search on any field in the system. And the reason we call those named searches is that when you create the filter, the condition by which the data is going to be managed and returned to you, you're able to give those filter conditions a name. And that makes it simpler for you to just engage the name. If you want to get information about all the clients, you just simply select that and click apply. And that's the results of that search, 64 records coming back at you. If you want to find the list of records, there are clients within a metropolitan area, Washington, D.C. area. That's 3 states, Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. Well, D.C. is not a state for those of you that are specific about these things, but you get the idea, as well as clients. Then this is another way of looking at it. So this is not just the clients, but the clients that are within those 3 possible states. Now, in this case, I filtered on a name search, but that name search hides complexities in which how you would need to create that search criteria to get those back here. So now if I want to further break this one down, I can use or leverage the grouping by moving the state column to this blue area where it says drag a column header to this to group by that column. So I'm going to drop that state here. And now I took the results of 10 records and grouped them by the fact that I have 7 of those in Virginia, 1 in Maryland, and 2 in DC. Now I can further do some criteria here by filtering further on any of the headers. I'm only looking for the ones with the last name starting with S. I'm down to 2 records only. But the point is that you're starting the search from an advanced search that hides the complexity and gives you the data you need. You're organizing the information by sorting on any columns you want. I wanted to sort by last name. And because you group by state, you're also seeing the data organized within that grouping section. Now, the quickest way for you to put this out on paper or further massage the data if you want to is to do the export. If you look at the top of your data management center, one of the quickest ways to turn this into a report, other than what you see on the screen, of course, and as we mentioned, you can move columns around, you can look at this data any way you want, but you can also export it out as either an Excel file or a PDF file directly. So let's send that to Excel, and you can give it a name and place it in a certain area. So I'm going to go ahead and give that name, and I'm going to move the Excel file that opened up on another screen over here. Okay, and now you'll see that our integration with Excel is pretty good, by the way. So you'll notice not only did you get the data in Excel, but you got them grouped that way. And if you haven't used grouping in Excel, those plus signs up here allows you to see the sub-data within that Excel file. So that Excel file is actually a true representation of exactly what you had here, including the sorting of the column by last name. And now you can print it from here, you can massage it further, you can do anything you want. The bottom line, please understand, this is a report result out, so you don't want to make changes here because they will not be reflected into your database, but it's a quick way to get the information out of the results system into an Excel file. One other thing to be aware of, results prides itself on building a system that's very intuitive and easy to use. And so the idea there is that, notice we spent some time putting this together. Now, if the phone rings and the person, excuse me, the person on the phone is Peterson, I don't have to interrupt, disrupt, or close what I'm doing just because I'm in the context DMC. I can actually go over to Contacts and Manage, and when I click that, it will leave my previous tab alone with everything intact the way it was, and opens for me a new one to manage that I can do anything I want with. The other thing to also note is that even if I'm working with this, looking for anybody with a last name of an S, somebody calls in and their name is Peterson. Let's say I'm going to assume that Peterson, I'm not really sure, is it O-N, I-N, U-N, or O-N? So I'm just going to guess on that. And even though I wrote it as an S-U-N, the last name, it found the one with a Peterson. That's the Soundex phonetic search capabilities, which is automatically built into our advanced search up here on the top of the screen. So notice it left whatever I was doing before alone and opened in another area. So you can work with the system without any delay. So notice in this case, I've leveraged everything in the DMC from grouping. By the way, groupings can also be multi-level. Please don't think it's only a single column. Let's say you want to also now group by sales rep. You can bring that up here. And now your report is quite a bit more complex. You have within the state of DC, within the District of Columbia, DC, you have 2 sales reps, Dimitri and Mary, each having 1 item or 1 account, Mike in Maryland, and then in Virginia we have 3 sales reps. Let's say you decide to change your mind. You know what, I like this report, but that's not exactly what I was looking for. How about if we reorganize the whole thing by sales rep? Grab the sales rep, move it to the left-hand side, and now you're seeing in Dimitri has 1 person or 1 account in DC, and 5 in Virginia. So it's just as quick to build those dynamic reports in results using the Data Management Center. Here, of course, I was only working with contacts. Please know that you can do that with anything. You can do that with your activities. I wonder what my team is working on today. So I can go and grab the assigned to, put it and group by the assigned to for the different team members. Well, I want to limit the range of dates. So you can go in here and put the started date and before and after dates range, so you can get the period of time in which you want to look at. Maybe today, but maybe you want to look at the whole week. So the point then is being able to see the information in the way that is most applicable to you. The other thing to note in this example that's different than context is in this, in the activities DMC, you have actually a total or subtotals by hours. As soon as you grouped it by individuals or entities in here, or whatever you grouped on, you could have grouped by type of activities that they're doing. You're going to see the subtotal within that grouping also here, because there's a numeric column. There's also subgrouping on the billable hours. That's right here. And again, if billable hours are important to you, move that column all the way to the far left-hand side where you can engage the data further. Let's take another example. A lot of people don't know that this DMC is here. It's one of the most powerful DMCs that we have. If you go into the financial data and you're using the Results Business Suite, not only can you do a DMC by invoices, and then within the invoices, you can group them by customers. So instantly you're seeing your invoice layout by the entity, by the customers themselves, and then you can do the invoice date ascending or descending, whatever you need to see. Right, so that's a pretty powerful one. And again, we go back to grouping and subgrouping. So within each customer, I can see the total of invoiced of 1,765, even though it was across multiple invoices. Let me introduce you, if you're not aware of it, to a very powerful data management center, which is based on line items. So this is the invoice level, which will tell you how much they're spending with you. But this is the invoice line item level that shows you things by product. Show me how well this product is doing. So this is I just took the product code and grouped by it up here, and now I can walk through this and see how much I'm selling of each of those product items. Well, let me see them by customer. That's a way to see the information. That's a blank product, so it's really more for notes coming in from QuickBooks on the import. But here's your half a line, and this is who are the customers grabbing that. Or let's go by customers and see what the customers are ordering. And within each customer, for Adams Candy Shop, these are the various things. For Stephen Anderson, these are the various things they're ordering. The main advantage also of this, I'm going to refresh this one, is the fact that you are also able to come in and search for a certain product or on the description of the product. And then you can also use this for commission calculations if you want to, based on different things that are being done with the sales rep, right? So you have a sales rep based on what they're selling for each of the items in there, if you want to do it that way, and based on different commissions that they get on services versus products, for example, you can see who's selling what and which items to the customers within that list. So multiple, as you know, multiple DMCs. If you click on this button on the top left, this is a summary listing of every DMC we have, from payments to service orders to invoices. Everything is available to here. It's just a matter of leveraging them and be able to report on them from within the DMC itself. If you have any questions, please open the control panel, submit your questions to the team, and they will either respond or bring them to my attention. All right, the next item that I wanted to bring to your attention directly, I'm going to go ahead and close all these things out. Okay, the next item I wanted to bring to your attention is the standard reports that are available within the system itself. So in other words, what we're talking about here is the following. If I go to the contacts module, this is where all your contact data is. If you look at the reports section, there's a bunch of significant amount of standard reports that are built in. So these are called standard reports. They're built-in reports that allow you to see different types of data. So for example, if you go here to this 320, by the way, the reports that are built into the system come with a 2-character reference and a 3-digit number. So it's easier for you to ask a staff member or team member to give you a report CR320, because that's the one you rely on, instead of having to remember word for word the exact description of the report. So you can reference them either way. But let's say this is the report you want to display. So I went to standard reports, and I saw a listing of the reports. I'm going to maximize the screen because we're going to spend a little bit of time in here. So you'll notice in this case of in this type of a report, we have information about Stephen Anderson. There's data on the right side regarding information about them, and then there's additional groups summarized within that. So that's a powerful, capable report. couple of things to know about these standard reports is that you can go ahead and apply any filter you want on the fly. So what that means is the following. If I don't tell it anything other than the fact that I want to see this report, it's going to put for me every single record in the system. And so if you notice up here, there are 32 pages. So as you do a page down through this list, when you get to the bottom of this report, or go to the bottom here, you'll see that there are 124 contact records in the database being reported on. It's a 32-page report. Well, that's sometimes not exactly what you want. You don't want to report on every single record. Maybe you want this report only run for your clients. You see what I did up here? I clicked on the name search. And this is the same listing that once you created one time. Remember when we were on the advanced search on the data management center of the contacts? This is the same list exactly. So I want to see all my clients. I select that. The system up here will remind you what is it that you're reporting on, and now you went from 32 to 16 pages. If you now say, you know what, I just want those clients in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, then you're down to 3 pages because of the amount of data that's in here. We also give you a table of contents on the far left-hand side. So if you want to see Ronald Peterson's record, you can jump to it directly by clicking on that on the far left-hand side and go directly to that record. That's a quick way to get there. The other way to get there that you might not be familiar with is the fact that within here, not only do you have a zoom effect to see the full page, or in this case, I put a page width, but you can see the whole page. So it's easier for you to page up and page down digitally through the information. But we have a very powerful feature that if you were doing, let's say, searching across all the clients, you're able to come in here. You see this button that's like a binoculars? You can go and click on that and say, I'm looking for Anderson. And so now you're doing a search within the body of the whole digital report. So when you do find, it's just going to go through them and find the record. You want to go to Peterson or find Peterson. We're going to basically type part of the words, and it jumps you to automatically to page 11, exactly where Peterson's record appears, or any other text you're looking for. This could be part of the notes on a record or a file. So it's a very powerful engine to allow you to get this work done. There's also many types of reports. Some of them are not going to appear to you. For example, you see those CF reports? These are the letter C stands for contact, F is financial. So this is financial data. If your security rights doesn't allow you to see financial data, you will not see the list of reports up here. But if yours allows you to, you're able to come in here and say, show me those customers and their invoices. So this is still only for the clients, and this is every single invoice that that client has on that report. So feel free to work through those reports, get a visual of what each of them does, and figure out which ones are going to be the most practical for you. Reference them by the code on the right-hand side. Anything that doesn't have a code, by the way, this is just a demo account. So these are sample or custom reports. They're added to the system, and we're going to touch on custom reports shortly. The other thing to also mention to you is that you might not be aware of it, but under reports for contacts, we actually have very powerful summary reports. What does that mean? I can run, I clicked on summary, so I'm seeing a totally different list from what I saw before. Before it was every single standard report we had for contacts. In this case, it's just the summary reports. What does that mean? You double click on this, and this is going to summarize for you. Not only is it going to give you a count per type of contact, and this is the total, and we still have 124 contacts in the system. That hasn't changed, but this is now the reality of how they're grouped together. Now, if you're looking at a report like this, you'll also see that by the way, if you don't need this on the left-hand side, you can close it off by just clicking on that button. You also can widen this. Let's do a page width so it's easier for you guys to see the report on the high-res monitor that I'm using. So this is effectively what this report looks like. Now, you look at this report and say, okay, that makes sense. That's fine. But those percentages don't mean a lot to me, because this is across every single record in here. I have vendors, I have subcontractors, I have prospects. So what if we go back and leverage a tool like the advanced search that we are aware of here, and let's say I want to do this report, this summary report for clients only. Look how much more powerful this is. First, it's instantly rebuilt the report to be just based on the criteria that are provided. and let's go page width. And now notice those percentages, much more logical. So 70% of my customer base is imported from QuickBooks. 10% or close to 11% is a major account versus a regular account. Your business might be residential versus commercial, commercial versus government, government, federal versus state. So there might be a lot of granularity within your client base, and now you can really do true analysis or do analysis on your prospect list. So by simply changing the criteria, this whole report is getting rebuilt with a totally different emphasis based on the type of data you're working with, and that starts showing you the power of the contact types. Let's switch over to groups. Is my other favorite summary report. Groups are heavily used, as you probably know, to control and manage the type of information you collect for each of your customers. So if you want to go to your prospect list and see these, you're going to see them right here, like we just are right now. Or I can go to my clients and say, I would like to understand the makeup of my clients. So in this case, I'm focusing on industries. And be able to see the counts over here, or I can further create additional filters, additional criteria to only focus on the category of industries, and then those percentages will be specific to how much of my customer base is accounting versus construction versus consulting. So that's available here. I'm going to show you one more report. So a lot of people don't realize that they're here. So based on going to the module itself, you're going to see the report section within the modules. If you go to activities, you'll see a report section on that module. There's also a menu up here of every single report type across the whole system. So you don't have to go and pick between different menu options. You'll go here and you'll see the reports on service orders and projects and sales, marketing, management, etc. All available to you here. Okay. So the ability then to get your standard reports is extremely powerful. Now there are some reports that you might not expect to find here, but they're nice. You had your data sitting in QuickBooks for all these years. You're now using results. You did a synchronization. You brought all your invoices over. Take a look at some of those invoice level reports. There's a couple of them here that are well known that are annual sales level reporting. And let's say you want to do it by month. So I'm going to just click on that, double click on that report. So this is taking every single invoice in the system, regardless whether it was entered in results or came in from QuickBooks, and it's actually putting everything on the screen. So if I want to, I'm able to go to the 2019. By the way, for those of you not familiar why this is so much in the future, that's actually sample data from QuickBooks. When you ask for sample data, they put it into futuristic date, so it doesn't mess with your regular data. So this is straight data coming in from QuickBooks. Here's the power and what I love about this report. This shows you patterns. So in 2019, these are the customers that purchase different things from you, and you're seeing how much they purchased within what month. This would be the total for this customer. So this customer had put $6,000 worth of business for you, and they're spread even across the whole year. While this customer seems to have a budget and is restricted or comes in and spends more within the end of the year. You can go and compare that pattern to previous years and also see who's spending with you in which specific areas. So that's one of the reports. You can go to another report and say, okay, I want to see that by sales rep. So now all of a sudden you're taking your 2019 data that you might not have spent a single keystroke within results to enter any of this data, but just by the mere fact that you brought them over from QuickBooks, all of a sudden you have this breakdown now by sales rep, what accounts that sales rep sold to and how much money they came in from those accounts and what was billed. So this is just a feel for that data here. Now this is on the invoice level. Remember I mentioned to you that we also have the line item details, which are much more helpful for deeper analysis. So if you go to the invoice details level and you go to standard reports there and you look at the annual reports, how about an analysis by state as to how you're doing? Let's go to 2019. Well, not as impressive. Let's see if I have something. Yeah, okay, fine. So let's look at 2015, just because we have some sample data in here. Now you're going to be able to see a spread of the different states. These are only the states where you have orders. And then you're going to figure out whether there's any seasonality around the orders coming into your business from those different states. Maybe there's different seasons where there's higher activity of business as based, of course, on the products and services that you're offering. Or let's go and do an analysis on products. How are the products doing? And maybe this is the one that typically has the most seasonal work around it, right? So based on, let's say we go to 2015, these are your different products that sold, and now you start walking through those different, the product for printers. Maybe it's not as seasonal as, let's walk around and see. So there seemed to be in April a lot of movement around those two types of services, in this case programming, custom programming, and reports, custom reports. So the idea there is you're seeing the data that was actually housed across multiple invoices in a way that allows you to make some decisions, determine return on investment, determine whether there are patterns that you want to put marketing campaigns and promotions around so that you can do more sales at a time where you are not experiencing as heavy sales under a normal circumstance. These are the kind of insights that those reports can give you. By the way, every report I'm showing you here, or every form that you see in results, is written in Crystal Reports. We have over 170 of them that's already in results. And then you can, as many of you know that have used those services, results does custom reports. We're going to show you how you add those shortly. But so you might like this report, but you need something different about it, or a different analysis around it, or break it down differently. You can talk to us about taking instead of building a report from scratch, which we can do for you, also the ability of taking an existing report and fine-tune it to give you a view or a vision of that you're trying to support, or questions that you need to answer. All right, so everything you've seen about here so far that I've shown you are based on the searches themselves. So let me get them out of here, and what we talked, the next item we talk about is the advanced search. So my strong recommendation is always start and build your advanced search in the corresponding DMC. Before you go to try to report on it, you want to test and confirm that you built it in a way that's sustainable, and that the information coming back to it from that report is accurate and satisfy the condition that you're looking for. And then once you have it in the advanced search as one of the available drop-downs, then you can use it throughout. You can use it on your home page. That's how your home page is built, by the way. Remember this old client records that we've been using throughout, 64 of them? I can go from here, double-click on it, and that's your DMC, and then from there instantly push it out to Excel if I want to. That's one approach. How about we do this? Are you aware that from your home page, instead of just double-clicking on an all clients advanced search, you're actually able to tell the system, I want to take that and run a report on it. So you don't open the DMC first to go to the report. You tell it, I want to go to the report directly. So notice what it does. It puts your name search instantly on the top. So anything that you report on here, let's say payments, is based on payments coming in only for the client information and grouped by client, right? So your home page can leverage the name searches, your reports can leverage the name searches, your DMCs can leverage the name searches. How do you maintain those, and how do you manage those reports? Those searches? You do it this way. You go to the advanced search. When you're on the advanced search, you can select from something that's up here, or tell the system you want to build your own. By clicking on maintain name searches, you're going to go to what we call the name search, referenced as a query builder. It's a place where you can put the conditions and the queries that you want to make out of the system itself against the database to get the data back. So a couple of things to note. The way those name searches are built, extremely powerful. Effectively, you're able to search on every single field in the system. So if I open up this contact profile, every single field that appears on the screen you can search on. And you can search on the same field multiple times. So for example, you can say I'm looking for the state code, but for the state code that says Maryland or Virginia, etc. Right? So you can apply it multiple times. In addition, though, one of the more powerful pieces here is that you can also do searches that also reference some of the other data. So I want to report on customers that are in the state of Virginia. So that would be the condition I want. And notice what I do. I go to the field, double-click on it, and it pops it open on the right side. And now I want to do that. I want to limit that to people that have had an invoice. So I open up the invoices, and I'm going to go to the invoice total and basically say I want anybody with an invoice total over $500. So effectively, I'm picking and choosing from each of the related tables that make up my contact profile. I have activities, quotations, payments, invoices, etc. And now the system will allow me to put that data together. So in this case, I will go to the right side, double click on this, and I'm going to say equal to. Notice how I have a drop down because state is a lookup table. And I'm going to go down here and say Virginia. And then you can basically click on OK, invoice total. I'm going to make that greater than or equal to $500. Click OK. So if you do it that way, you can notice I can go ahead and apply that, or you close the search, but always you want to take advantage of the ability to save it. When I click Save up here on the top of the screen, I'm going to basically say clients in Virginia that were invoiced over $499, or if you want to be specific, because we said greater or equal to over $499. So you can be as specific as you want to within the criteria itself. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to close that screen. Oh, sorry, close that screen. And now what happens from this point on, for you and everybody else in the company can leverage this, when you click on this drop down, you're going to have clients in Virginia that have been invoiced more than $499. Click apply. And you know what they say about computers, trust but verify, right? So here are 4 records that came back at us. If we select them all, and you know the trick, instead of opening each record individually, there's a trick for you, or kind of a convenience of clicking on open at one time. And now your 4 records came in. I'm going to go to invoices, and I'm going to confirm that each of those records in here have paid at least have one or more invoice that's over $500. This is 6,000. This one has both of them are over 500 or 500 above. Same thing here. Now, obviously, we have other customers in Virginia based on what we saw before when we did searches, but these are the ones that have the dual criteria that matches. Right? So one other thing to note about advanced searches, so this is a very powerful engine that you want to leverage, but one other thing to know about advanced searches is that you're able to leverage what you've built before or somebody else on your team has built before. So you don't always start from scratch. What does that mean? I can click on this open button and see every single DMC, every single name search that has been built for this DMC. And then if I want to look at that complex one that I was mentioning, how did I build the one for clients in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area? It's a little bit more of a complex name search. It's basically saying clients, but also there's an open parentheses. When you're looking at this record here, there's something called begin group. And then you're going to need to do with an or, series of ors, Virginia or DC or Maryland, and you're going to close the group. If you don't put those groups in, you're going to get unexpected results on this one, because then the and or gets confused within the search criteria. So there are a few rules you want to be aware of. There's videos on this on our Learning Center. There's stuff on the user manual about this, but the bottom line in this case, the statement I'm making is that you're able to, instead of rebuilding this from scratch, first coming and seeing what's going on, maybe you want to add another state, West Virginia, to this, because that's now part of the larger metropolitan area, or maybe you want to remove DC from this and make it more specific. So the point is that you're able to come in and make the change, and then when you save, notice what you can do up here. Now instead of Washington, DC metro, it's no longer accurate. So this is now in Maryland or Virginia. And by changing the name, as soon as you change the name, as long as you don't check this box, you never change the original. What does that mean? You still have, because you changed the name, we'll do an automatic save as. You still have the clients in the Washington, D.C. area. When you click apply, there's 10 of them. When you go here and now change that and say, I only want the ones that had Maryland and Virginia, there's going to be less, because anything that was in DC dropped out. We deleted that condition as one of the ors, or one of the possible criteria to get to the data. Okay, so that's your standard searches. One final thing to show you. Again, as I mentioned before, once you build it once, build it in the DMC, in the pop-out of the advanced search of the DMC, so you can test the results of the search and confirm that they're accurate. Once you have confidence in the name search you just built, what if you want to put it on your home page? Let's go do that. We're going to click on the ad. The first thing it needs to know from you is what data center. In other words, what type of data are you pursuing? We're going to go with contacts. Click on the drop-down. Notice this one for clients in Maryland and Virginia. I don't have to rebuild it here, even though I have a maintained name search. I have everything ready to go. I just selected it. It's going to default the name to this. If I want to, I can put something like this or whatever you want to. This list is going to be available to you, so you can organize it differently, or maybe we're going to say this is a list or anything that you want to. So you can further modify how it's going to be listed on your home page, even though the name search is called something specific. When you click OK, you see how it is right now? And you have the 8 records. Same answer as we got when you were in the data management center. And until somebody adds another record to Maryland that's a client, or removes one from Maryland or Virginia, that number will stay the same. But now you can also execute that directly from here. So the home page effectively is a way for you to maintain the groupings of the various name searches that you've built, and then you can effectively get to them very quickly. Or you can always go to the data management center first and select from there what you want. And if here, you're going to end up with the same result, 8 records. That's the bottom line, whether you put it on the home page or not. So leverage name searches, leverage them throughout the system. They're a very powerful part of the results system. Also, if you're using Results Web Mobile, all of those same name searches that we're talking about up here are available to you instantly within your, for people in the field. Whether they're using their laptops, their tablets, their phones, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is that when you come in here and you're using the enterprise version of Results, and you have the accessibility of getting to the data directly from on the road, then those homepage entries are identical to what you see in the field. And your abilities here to go to Contacts, click on Manage, and you have this pop out here. This drop-down will be an exact listing of everything that you've done on the back office. The point is to build the name searches and empower your team to use them, whether from any other workstation, from the same workstation, from the field, and or the back office. All right, let's go to ad hoc reports. The reason I wanted to go through name searches first is because ad hoc reports is really kind of a name search, but it has an extra advantage to it. So let's see how it works. Let's go to Contacts. Let's go to Manage. And one of the things that you're going to see up here is the ability for you to do not just regular reports, but if you click on the drop-down, there will be something called ad hoc reports. By the way, ad hoc reports is also available to you on the top of the screen here. It's also available to you on the reports section. So ad hoc reports is an ability for you to do a quick report. It's a one-line report. It's a very simplistic report, but it's based on whatever criteria you want. You can save them and reuse them throughout. So what does that mean? All right. Let's say, well, just because of the shortness of time, let me go ahead and leverage an existing report that's there, and I'm going to go then back in there and show you how to build one from scratch too. Similar to what you saw on the named searches, when you click on this open button, it will list for you whatever ad hoc reports you had created in the past. So in the past, we have this sample ad hoc report that lists the emails of all the clients that are CLN-M and CLN-R as an example. So specific type of, not all clients, but specific type of clients that we wanted to leverage or look at. And in this case, we're asking for only 2 pieces of information. Show me the name of the entity and show me the primary email of that entity. And you're able to report that to the screen. You're able to also send it out to a file. That's what makes it powerful. So you kind of come back in here and say, okay, I really like this report, but I want to do something different with it. So what do? You click on Save, and you give it a different name. I want list of email addresses for all active prospects, maybe. All right? So by doing something like that, I'm leveraging. By the way, notice I did a typo up there. So let me show you how to rename a report or a name search without having to save it as. You see how I had a typo up here? I can highlight that and click on Rename and fix the name, and then click OK. So that's the quickest way for you to restructure or rename your reports, which will always be listed alphabetically, or your name searches, without having to recreate them. So in this case, I have this name search, but instead of being clients, I decided to do this differently. I gave it a different name, and I wanted to engage only my prospects. So here's my active prospect. And then I have another one which are called leads. By the way, you still can use the same thing that you can within the results product, right? So you can always use the drop-down, but you can also use that special button that's unique to results to see things in an easier fashion. So here are my contact types for active prospects, my contact type for leads, and I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to confirm that this is my report for those prospects. Now let's go ahead and pull that report to the screen. So I'm going to execute that by clicking on the exclamation point, and here's the results of the report. How do you confirm that this is a correct report? Let's say you're not really sure which ones are the leads, which ones are the prospects. So here's an idea. You open up the list of fields available to you. And the beauty of the ad hoc report, before when you're dealing with name searches, you were only dealing with the criteria area, but now you can also deal with the fields area. So let's say there are two pieces of information that are important to you here. You want the ID number, the account number of the entity. So we're going to go ahead and double click on that. And to verify what we're looking at, we want also the contact type. By the way, the fields are not listed alphabetically. To make it easy for you, we list them in the same order they appear on the screen. So this is the way you read the information on the screen from top to bottom, the name, the company, the address, the phone numbers. That's exactly how they're listed, so it's easy for you to find them. So what we're saying is we want to see the contact type. Now let's pull that report, and I'm going to show you how to clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to click on exclamation point and see now we have a little bit more data. I can see my leads versus the active versus the leads, prospects versus leads. So it's a differentiator of contact types, and I have a little bit more data. I don't like this column header, a little bit too wordy. I don't like the ID by itself. So let's go and do some cleanup to this. I'm going to open up any of those fields, and I'm just going to basically maybe call it just contact type or type. Right? And we're going to click OK. Oh, let's sort by that. We're going to make it ascending sort. And then what I'm going to do is here, I don't like the word ID by itself. I'm going to call this account number, because that's really what your contact IDs are. And because you don't want it in the middle of the report, why don't we just highlight that and move that? You see those move up and down? Move that column up. We're going to save so we can preserve what we just built. Already there. Do you want to override it? Yep. And let's run this to the screen. We cleaned up the heading. We are able to have the account number as the heading. All the information is there. And let's go and take a look at this data. So we have the display name. By the way, if you notice why the type was not really obviously in ascending order, is because we were sorting by name ahead of time in ascending order. So if I really want them to be in a contact type, I can remove the display name, and this way when we send it to the screen, this would be all sorted by prospect active, A before L for leads. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to actually, that would be an argument for you to move the contact types up so that the contact type is in ascending, and now you can actually go ahead and keep this ascending. So what does that really mean? Basically what we're saying is here, if you pull this report, this report is going to be showing the account number. It's going to show your prospects, the active first, and then the leads second. And then within the active list, you're going to basically see the names alphabetical, right? Because we kept the type ascending order, alphabetical sort, display name, alphabetical order, sort. And so the information is there. Now, what if I want to use that list? I want to take that list and give it to my mailing house or somebody that's going to do a mailing campaign for me, or I'm going to load that through another system to do the email campaign. Well, that's what this button is for. If you're not sure what a button does, put your cursor on it, save to file in this case. And what does that mean? I'm able to save the results of this report in a, let's say, tab delimited or CSV, some refer to it as CSV, comma separated, comma. And then I always recommend that you put your ad header row, which basically means the field name will also be included. If I push this out there, let's go ahead and put this on my results data directory. And I'm going to put this in the export folder. And we're going to call that email of prospects.txt, or whatever you want to put as the extension. Put it up here, finish writing to file. Great. What do we say? Trust but verify. Let's go verify. We're going to go down to the, I went to File Explorer. I'm going to the results data directory. I'm going to my export folder. And one of the text files that I'm going to see up here, thank you, Mike. One of the text files I'm going to see up here is email of prospects. Let's open up that file, and there they are. They're comma separated. That means there's a comma between each field. This is the account number. This is the listing of the active first. And obviously, you don't need to see it in Notepad. Typically, what you do with something like this is you go into Excel. And Excel is right here. I will go over to that file. We're going to click on Open. And we're going to go down to the C drive, results data, the export folder. And we're going to have the, because Excel by default is going to assume there's an Excel file, you can educate it that says, no, not really, not this time. We're going to give you comma separated files. So you can look at all text files if you want, or there's also in the drop-down, the CSV is one of the options. There's also a comma separated. So in this case, you have your email to prospects, and this is a standard conversion built into Excel, so that if you're reading from a text file, everything comes across. We click on next. No, actually, it is a comma separated. And notice how all of a sudden, as soon as you did a comma instead of tab, everything cleaned up. Everything went in its own columns. Now we're switching into a class on Excel, but that's okay. So the bottom line then is you are able to go to each column, and let's say you want this to be something different. You can tell it what it is. Just do these things. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Let me go back. There should have been a checkbox up here. Okay. I thought there would be a checkbox that allows me to say that the first column actually, oh, there it is. Nope. Okay. Maybe I'm looking at something different. But in Excel, there's typically a way for you to make the first column be the column header itself. So we're going to go to the end and say finish. And now you have a true Excel file that is available to you here. And notice how everything fell in place. And they're sitting in their own separate columns, A, B, C, and D. And when you do a save as, you can now say, no, I'm not going to save it as text file anymore. This is going to become an Excel file moving forward. So you're able to go here, and it's going to change the extension for you. You're up and running, and that's your Excel file that came in from the list that you sent out as an ad hoc. Let me close this for a second. What's the advantage of what I just did? I might have spent 5 minutes building it, but the point now is everybody in the company can leverage it. If you come to ad hoc reports, dealing with contacts, and you click on this open, it's here. Oh, I guess it did not do a full rename, or I saved it twice under that. Hold on. And if you send that to the screen, everything that you saw before has been built and put into in order up here. So I created a little mess by saving again under the old name. So I'm going to delete that one and rename this one to the one without the S. Okay, bottom line is that if you exit, come back, you're going to basically see that you have ad hoc. You're going to go to the open. You're going to see your prospects. And when you run it, that's your prospect list. Right? So you invest in it once, you build it once, you perfect it, and you make it another available option. Very much like name searches, but they're ad hoc. Everything that is here can be done from any system. I want to go and do a quick financial report on payments. Then from within the payments under reports, I'm able to do an ad hoc. And from here, these are every single field in the payment. You can look and see if there's anything that's been built before, build a new one, put a condition or a criteria down here. So if you want to filter on the amount, for example, you drag it and drop it down to this area. And if you want to just report on it, then you can drag it and drop it into this area. So it's really a matter of moving fields into the right area. This is where you put a condition on them. The bottom portion, the top portion is where you report on them. All right, if you have questions, please let me know. We're running a few minutes over, but I'm going to show one more quick thing. And this is really how custom reports can be built. So you can, we use Crystal Reports. That's our integration with Crystal Reports. Crystal Reports has been around for many years now. Since 1985, they've been on the market. So they're one of the most well-known reporting engines. You can have a consultant build your reports. You can buy Crystal Reports, just a one license of Crystal Reports to build your own, or you can have us custom build them for you. So the bottom line is that, let's say we went in there, and I'm going to take an example of a real account that we just recently did a custom quotations for them. Okay, so if I go to this section, see this custom report, that custom quotation that we built for them. It's an RPT file extension, which is Crystal Report. I'm simply going to go ahead and take that and drop it into the results data directory. This is the instructions you will receive if we had built for you the custom report ourselves. So we're going to go into the results data. We're going to go to the reports folder, and we're going to place this custom report file. Okay, so Crystal Reports is the name of the software. It builds all our forms and reports. So notice all I did is I dropped this file, which is a custom quotation in this directory. How simple is it to add a custom quotation to your system? So now let's go to our system, and we're going to go to Sales and Marketing. We go to the quotations, and let's say I take this quotation. This quotation, we're going to go ahead and print it. You'll notice there's a quote form up here. So if I double click on that, as you all have, this would be your sample, or a sample. This would be your standard quote that is built into the system. So let's say you asked us to build you your own custom quotation that you want your logo on it, you want to move a few things around. Well, what do we do to install it? It's a one-time movement only that you would do. You would go to the maintain, and you make a copy of the existing code, but instead of doing that, you're going to go and grab the one from the folder. You say that's not a standard one, that's a custom one. So that's the only two changes you make, and we're just going to refer to this as custom. And we're going to hit save. That's the only time you need to do this. You do this from a single station, and from this point on, your system now has access to a custom quotation that for the same quotation I was looking at a second ago. If I double click on this, excuse me, if I double click on this, this is the EBS layout. Notice what they did. They put a logo up here, they put their address, but they wanted other changes here. They didn't like all the different options we had on the top. They wanted them to be simplified, and they wanted a paragraph to be here regarding the understanding, regarding the contract being signed or the quotation being received, the condition by which this valid through would be applicable. So this is identical data, but it just happens to be a custom quotation that was built for a partner in this case, but could be built for any of you. Whether you build them yourself or we build them for you, you simply go to that maintain area, and you basically can see what's available, and you can add more or adjust anything that you need to about the design of the report. But from now on, anytime on this system, that you come in, you'll notice that your custom quote is there for whatever quote you're on, not just that one, but anything else that I open. I'm going to go to print, I'm going to go to the custom quote, and this is what I'm going to basically email out to the client or to the prospect that I'm working with on the quotation for them. All right, sorry we went a little bit over, but I hope this has been a useful webinar. Thank you very much for your business. Appreciate you very much, and thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Again, we'll make the video available to you and your team, so you'll be able to share it and review the information in it. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.